Most change doesn't begin with a plan. It begins with discomfort. That quiet, persistent feeling that something isn't quite right, even when everything on the surface looks like it is. I'm Saskia Falcon. Welcome to the Odds in Our Favour, a News 24 Good News podcast brought to you by Old Mutual Wealth, helping you grow, protect, and preserve what matters. This is a podcast about people who are not just responding to broken systems, but are redesigning them entirely. In a circus, trust is everything. When you leap from a trapeze, you trust someone will catch you. When you balance on a wire, you trust the people below you will have your back. And perhaps that's why circus is such a powerful metaphor for South Africa, a country still trying to build a shared future. More than 30 years ago, South Africa stood on the brink of democracy. Two circus performers had an unusual idea. What if the circus could become more than entertainment? What if it could become a place where young people from every background could learn confidence, discipline, teamwork, and belonging? A place where they could quite literally learn to fly. That idea became Zip Zap Circus. And today, more than 3 decades later, it's impacted thousands of young lives through free circus training, youth development programs, and vocational pathways, all while building one of the most respected social circuses in the world. And joining me today are its co-founders, Brent van Rensburg and Laurence Esteve. Welcome to the Odds in Our Favour.
Good morning, Saskia.
And thanks very much for having us on.
Now, let's start at the beginning. Before there was Zip Zap, before there was a circus school, there was actually a love story. Take us back a little bit. Tell me a little bit of your backgrounds and then how the two of you actually met.
Should I start? So I left South Africa. I dropped out of high school and left South Africa in the 70s to become a trapeze artist in Europe. And over the years, after 4 years in Europe, I ended up in the United States performing. I had a pretty big fall and injured my back. And in the healing, I ended up in the Dominican Republic where, of course, I met Laurence. So I always said that was the best fall I ever had. But that fall led me to Dominican Republic, to a resort where I was entertaining the tourists at the resort called Club Med. I had no idea what Club Med was, but it seemed like a good place to recuperate. I met Laurence there, and Laurence was the manager of the resort, and I started teaching the manager to fly on the trapeze with me. And we became trapeze partners, and and that was it. 35 years later, we're still together.
And Laurence, I mean, you're not from South Africa, you're from France. What's your background story? How did you find yourself in Club Med?
Club Med is a very big institution in France. So when I was studying during the holidays, summer holidays was 2 to 3 months, winter holidays, I would work there. Worked as sailing instructor, windsurfing instructor, hostess, aerobic teacher, everything to travel. And when I finished my degree, I've got a bachelor in sports science and then an honors in management of sports institution, a master's actually. So in between the years, I had to do an internship. So instead of going into the sports field, I went into the office section. And when I graduated, they were really interested to hire me. And they said, please, can you go to Yugoslavia? The war was starting. We need to close the village, the resort. If you can finish the books there, then we give you your first choice afterwards. So I did my season in the late Yugoslavia, and then I chose the Caribbean. And there I was, and ended up in Guadeloupe when I did my training from assistant to manager. And then manager, I went to Dominican Republic because my first language for metric was actually Spanish. So it's a Spanish island. And there I met a trapeze artist from South Africa.
And convinced you actually to do the trapeze? I mean, was that a far stretch for you, or were you very open to learning?
Yeah, I was very sporty. I come from a sporty background. So I did gymnastic and I did another sports, which was acrobatic snow ski. So I was a bit Daredevil. I did, a ramp and somersault and things like that on skis and in water. And so when I saw the flying trapeze, I'm like, oh, I want to try that. And then when I saw the guy holding the lines, I'm like, oh. I'm definitely going to try that.
At that stage, had you heard of South Africa, even as a country? Did you know about us at all?
Not really. There was one song from Michel Fugain who was singing about South Africa. But no, can you believe it? It was very hush-hush. I mean, we had... It was not in my knowledge, so I had to research. And it comes from South Africa? What is that? Yeah, the south of Africa? Mm-hmm. It's incredible, yeah.
So then you guys were trapeze partners before you were life partners. What was life like in those years, traveling, performing around the world? And what is it that circus taught you guys about people?
Well, I'd been doing it for a long time. And when we became trapeze partners, I wanted Laurence to experience that same lifestyle because it's not a job. And I know that's cliche as that sounds. It's a lifestyle. I mean, you live the life. You don't go to work. You wake up at work and you go to sleep at work in your caravan. And and she fit. She slotted in. She took to it. Moving from a nice big double suite in Club Med to a caravan in Paris. But we actually ended up performing in Laurence's hometown, which is in Paris, where she was born. And for a very famous family circus there, and it was winter and the end of the season, and I'd actually performed in Paris when in my teens in the oldest circus building in the world, and after the season, I said to Laurence, "Come on, I'll show you I hadn't been home for a while. I said, I'll show you my hometown where I was born and raised, because it's summertime, and so the intention was a 6-week holiday in Cape Town for Laurence to discover Cape Town." And we stayed 35 years.
And that was in 1992?
Yeah.
What did you think?
Well, first I wanted to answer your question about what circus taught me. And I went to university and licensed, and I sat at many desks and listened to many lectures. But what I learned in the circus is the acceptance, the diversity, the social cohesion, because we were after the Italian handstand act and before the Colombian wire walker. And then you eat in each other's caravan and you eat different food, and it's amazing. And then the circus people, they are their own managers and entrepreneurs because they have to manage their act, their health. They have to find the contract for the next season. They have to design a new act to be appealing to the audience they're performing for. So I found a lot of incredible lessons in such a short time. And after coming here to South Africa, from winter in Europe to landing here in January, February 92, it was not what I expected. 92, there was still a lot of people leaving the country. And still a lot of people super nice and welcoming. And looking around, I said, but whatever we've done in the past 4 or 5 years together, we can do it here for the people here in a different way. So, we stayed.
So it's 1992, Mandela's being released. This country and the future that we're imagining doesn't exist yet. You bringing Laurence home to just come and visit, and then you decide to stay. How did that come about, Brent? And why a circus?
Well, to be honest with you, I in the back of my mind, I thought one day when I'm not flying on the trapeze anymore, I would like to pass it on. I'd like to teach, kids to have the same opportunities I had as a kid, and especially kids who are not academic or just need other opportunities in life. And so but I didn't realize by no means what a social circus was.
Right.
But I did have this idea for a circus school late in life. Never expected to start it at 32 years old, and never understood that we could actually make a much bigger difference than I had imagined, in children's lives because of the things that you said circus brings, the teamwork, the trust, the confidence. So we started with this crazy idea that we wanted to bring kids together who would not normally have the opportunities to meet. So we actually started teaching in the school I went to as a kid in Greenpoint, and at the same time we started teaching in a Zimaza primary school in Langa with the idea of bridging the gaps between the kids from those two schools, which soon after we started the projects we started doing. And then somebody kind of suggested that we also start working with kids from Patrick House, a shelter for street children, which we did. So then we had these 3 groups of kids from different backgrounds that we managed to secure an old deserted warehouse where we started with our first 15 or 16 kids from those 3 programs, 3 places. And we had no idea what we were doing. To be really honest with you, it was this ideological idea that was like, we're going to try to make a difference. We're going to put our 2 cents in, and we're going to bridge gaps between kids that will never normally have a chance to meet, and we're going to use circus as the tool. That was it. Not any idea that that the potential was actually much bigger than we thought. For the 2 years, we kind of did little shows around the Cape Town with them training. And then in 1994, we had the opportunity to take our first tour with this group of kids, to the Grahamstown Festival. And of course, we, some friends, Cheryl Azinski at the time, helped get a truck out. Nick Taylor, he had an old circus tent in his garden. We dug it up with the kids. Anyway, we took this crazy show, and that's where the name Zip Zap started, because prior to 94, we called the project Dare to Dream. And then we got together with the kids and we said, okay, we're going to come up with a name for this tour. And we sat with the kids and we threw names around, and Zip Zap came up at some point. And we said, we'll change it when we get back. But it never changed. The name stuck. 94, we took a very successful tour with the kids. I think a lot of people were very nervous about how we're going to pull this off, but somehow we did. I think when the penny really, really dropped, to be honest with you, Saskia, I think in 95 we went back to Grahamstown, and we were invited to go to Joburg directly after Grahamstown to perform for Nelson Mandela, who then was president of the country. And we performed for him. We got to meet him. We got to speak with him. He met all the kids. And I think the last thing he said to us was, keep up the good work. And we said, we promise you we will. So I think that's where our lives changed, that going back to Europe was not an option anymore, that we were making a difference. It was working. And I think we just, at that point, we dedicated, the rest of these years to making sure that Zip Zap not only worked while we're running it, but will work long after we're gone.
I mean, it's quite a lofty idea. First of all, a new idea to think that you could be bridging a divide between different children at a time when not a lot of that was happening. But then also this idea of training kids to become performers when you have no idea the basics that you're working with. I mean, when you're walking into a school and you're saying, okay, we're going to go and work with the school in Langa, you're not auditioning the kids first to say, can you, do you? What was that like?
It was an adventure. So you need to understand Brent's passion. I think maybe you can get it. The passion for circus, that it gave him such an amazing life of encounters and travel. So he comes with this passion and the joy. So when he comes into a school and he asks the principal to move desk and all the kids who are here just join and we'll see. I mean, they just like he's the piper, the kids just followed him. And for Zimaza, to put the show at Zimaza, while at CBC it took us 2 weeks, at Zimaza it took us 2 months, because every day we would come, there would be different kids. kids we didn't meet. And then we had to find a community center. And to find the community center, we had to speak to the community leaders. And it was nothing political. So it took us much, much longer to get a show together. But it's that drive, I think, in time of stress, or maybe the parents can stress, the kids need an outlet. And they need something that they can produce together. And putting a show, it's creating an act. And you focus on creating the act. You're not focusing on what you're wearing or, the color of your skin. You just focus on creating an act, because once you're on stage, you have people clapping for you. And everything falls apart, or actually everything falls together. It's an amazing experience to see what the kids go through. And still to this day, when the kids from all corners of Cape Town come into that room, they come into that room from one purpose: to have fun and create an act and be the best they can be.
I just like to add to that is that, if a child wants to do something, you can teach the skill. If you can create, and it's not about talent, about having talent to come in. It's about having the will and the want to do it. And that's it. If a child wanted to be there, we made sure that it worked, and it did. And the shows were very rudimentary in the beginning. We were making our other costumes ourselves. We were hanging a trapeze behind the tree in Langa, and we were, like you said, moving desks in the classroom. We would just do. It was chaos, but we pulled it off, and it was, we had all the parents come to see the show after 2 months. So as crazy as it was, it actually worked.
Wealth is about more than just numbers. It's about what you're shaping, your ambitions, your priorities, your legacy. That's why Old Mutual Wealth partners with skilled financial planners to bring the expertise of a leading wealth manager to your strategy. They help you make sense of both local and global opportunities, offering clear strategic insight so you can make confident decisions, whether you're building your wealth, protecting it, or shaping your financial future. Take your wealth further.
So what strikes me about Zip Zap is that not really about creating circus performers. It's about creating people who can trust, who can collaborate, who can imagine a future that's bigger than the circumstances that they're born into. Was that always the intention, or did that kind of just emerge as you were working with young people?
I think the first intention was create a space where everybody can meet, because we were very aware of the separation of the geographic location. So how do you create that space? So that's our first intention. And then it evolved with the environment. So all the programs that we created happened because of what was existing outside. So in 1999, we met a doctor who was coming from Europe because of the HIV issues, and he was focusing on the transmission from mother to the baby. And he said, we need to find a way to bring kids to the clinic, something happy. So we created a program, and we were the first circus school in the world to work with children living with HIV in 2005. So it took us a while, because our 15 youngsters had to grow up and had to get training to be able to look after youngsters. So then we start looking for partners who are going to take us on that journey. And then we partnered with Cirque du Soleil for 10 years, and they gave us training to be able to train the trainers. And it was created by the environment of what is the problem? We want to contribute and to be part of the solution. So how can we contribute? So that's how all the programs were created.
And now it's 34 years later. For someone who's perhaps hearing about Zip Zap Circus for the first time, what would you say? What is it that you do?
We create opportunities for children that would not necessarily have them. We allow them to dare to dream. And I think we definitely bridge gaps. I think we've definitely lived up to being part of the Rainbow Nation that Nelson Mandela dreamed and spoke about. So I think we definitely living that still to this day. And I think we also, keeping the circus arts alive in South Africa. I think that's very important to me. I had an amazing teacher who made me promise that I would, and so I've got to keep that promise too. And I think we I don't know, we a little bit of an institution in Cape Town. I think we definitely were one of the first social circus schools in the world. In 1992, there were 10 in the whole world, and we were one of the first 10. And now there's like 800 in 70 countries. So I think we were part of the pioneers of social circus, real social circus.
I would like to add that we're great ambassadors of South Africa around the world. When audiences in France, in the States, everywhere we've been performing, they just see a different South Africa when they see our group of kids performing on stage. They see the social cohesion, they see the teamwork, they see all that, and they understand. I mean, in New York last year, people in the audience were screaming when Jason raps the storyteller, his spoken words, and we are brothers and sisters and we bleed the same color. In New York, the audience would scream and shout during the words, when he was speaking the words. So there's really, it's still a children's show that we're touring currently, a family show, yeah. But it's got a powerful message just in the fact that the people are on stage with a local musician, having recorded the music locally with the background of the Table Mountain and the township. It's a powerful, positive message.
Your youth outreach programs, because that's really where it all starts, and it's all offered free. I mean, how do you guys sustain that? And how many kids would you say have come through the doors in the last 30-odd years?
Throughout the years, 30,000 maybe, but currently we have 10 programs in 2 groups, community outreach and skills development. So 5 in each group. It's all free of charge because it needs to be the will of the children coming and not because the parents are paying. Also because once the kids come through the doors, they're all equal. It's very important. So, yeah, it's we manage because of very kind individuals and institutions and corporates and government locally and abroad. So 5 outreach programs, community programs, is in partnership, where the partners actually find the kids or brings us an issue that they would like Zip Zap to contribute to. And the 5 skills development pathways, it's circus training. Like you do ballet, you do tennis, you start when you're little, and then you evolve, you come once a week, and then you change program twice a week, and then 3 times a week, until the vocational training program, which is full-time, 5 times a week. So all our partners in our community programs, we've got a partner with a creche. It started with a focus on early childhood development. That was really important. The dropout rate of kids starting grade 1 and not finishing matric is huge. So we start looking at the issue before they join grade 1. What happens before? Well, there's a lot of kids sitting in creches with no stimulation. So we created a program in partnership with ECD specialists, with grade 1 teachers, using the circus and the fun. And we follow the kids over 2 years, 4, 5 years old, and 5, 6 years old before they start grade 1, to encourage them to take challenges, to listen to a different language, to understand left and right, to do fine motor skills, gross motor skills, so they're ready when they enter grade 1. We worked with a clinic. Used to be Ubuntu Clinic in Kailicha. Now it's a Delft Clinic in Kailicha. We kept that program for kids living with HIV. We work with St. Joseph's School. It's in Montana. Kids can have chronic disease, or they come out of a Red Cross Children's Hospital and they need a rehabilitation, and they need to learn to be kids and not look at what's wrong with them, but look at what they can do. So we work with that school. We work with, it's called REACH. So we have a partnership with the Western Cape Education Department. to invite the schools that are underserviced to bring the kids to let them know that circus exists. It can be an option for them. It's okay if they're not IT or doctors or engineers or lawyers. They have other options. So it's a great program where the kids come to Zip Zap. They have 2 hours of full-on hands-on workshop when they climb and jump, and then they have a demonstration by the students in training of what they can do, and then they have a Q&A because the students or the instructor come from the same neighborhood than these kids, and they have questions and answers, and yes, it's a job, and yes, it's an opportunity. So, yeah, all the communities.
And your vocational training? Because, I mean, obviously, out of those thousands and thousands of kids that have come through your doors, you've also led them on pathways to employment, like you were saying.
So our vocational training program is called Dare to Dream. And so as the kids progress, so let's call it beginners, intermediate, advanced, zappers, they have the opportunity to, if they really want to make a career out of this, either as a teacher at Zip Zap or elsewhere, or a professional performer or technician, because we teach rigging, lighting, sound as well as much as we can. They can join the Dare to Dream program. And that's where they've, most of 90% of those kids have come through the system over the years at Zip Zap, grown up there and now wanting to make a career choice. Dare to Dream is an interesting beginning because in 1999, 4 young boys, teenagers, expressed this desire to go professional. So I think essentially that's where the Dare to Dream professional program started. We did 18 intense months with them, got them a contract in Europe. They were the first professional act to leave Zip Zap. They went on to win prizes in Monte Carlo when Prince Rainier was still alive. They won the Golden Clown in Paris. I mean, they were the sort of the benchmark for many years of. And then the 3 girls followed them with a triple trapeze act. And so what happened was this Dare to Dream idea of becoming professionals took shape. And I don't want to jump the gun here, but the thing is, they were always leaving and we were getting them contracts in other circuses. So even in Cirque du Soleil or in America or Germany or France. And the youngsters started saying, well, why don't we create our own touring show, a Zip Zap show? And that was just a couple of years before COVID. So this whole idea of creating our own Zip Zap professional touring company where the Dare to Dream students could feed directly into, this idea started becoming a reality. And like I said, I don't want to jump the gun, but that's been our latest big achievement in the last few years.
Tell us about that, because also you did an incredible production. Tell us all about the professional company.
Okay, so our oldest daughter has been based in Montreal for the last 11 years. She has her own touring show. She's a highly regarded aerialist in the world. She's become quite famous. And anyway, during COVID, she actually came home right at the beginning of COVID with the intention to teach, but classes were closed. So she actually, her and a partner, made a movie with the sort of our older staff members, performers, and that movie was called Moya, which means spirit. So during the COVID process, we entered the first international film competition in America against Cirque du Soleil's movies, against Seven Things, all the big companies. We were nominated for 4 awards for that movie, and we won 3. Of the 4 on worldwide TV, by the way. And then, anyway, our daughter said, well, Dad, Mom, why don't we, you're talking about this professional touring show. Why don't you make a show based on the movie, Moya? And so it's about a kid from the streets of Cape Town who finds this circus group of people in Cape Town somehow and gets involved, becomes almost part of the family, and then makes it to the world stage. So that's the storyline of Moya. And the amazing thing is that the lead character playing that role is a kid from the streets of Cape Town. He's not an actor playing a role. So it's and it's been touring for almost 3 years now. It was on Broadway in New York last year, the La Villette in Paris. It's been, and we've got dates booked all until next year. So they're not only making a living, they're not only seeing the world, they are ambassadors of South Africa. They're really bringing what we are and who we are to the world stage.
I mean, it's just incredible because you've been a part of all these international performances, performed for presidents. I mean, you mentioned the late President Nelson Mandela, but also Barack Obama, international audiences, won awards. Is this the kind of impact that you were hoping for? Or do you guys maybe perhaps measure impact in a different way?
Our intention was to impact the kids. We didn't know the ripple effect that it would have around the world and around the audiences around the world. So our motto is we inspire and empower kids for life. And I think it's not only the kids who are on stage, but it's the people who are watching the show. Everybody who leaves our show are happy and believe in the future and have hope, and that's the ripple effect that we didn't expect. We were just focusing on the kids because the kids needed a change in their lives in the country at the time. So that was our initial focus.
And funding, guys, I mean, everybody knows that you're a non-profit. Funding at the moment is incredibly challenging. How are you guys coping under the current climate? I mean, how are you funded? Because I know that there's big dreams still.
Yeah.
Funding is diverse sources of income, grants, donation, and fee for services. So Brent is talking about the production touring the world. So that pays all the artists, and then a portion comes back into the school. We also do shows locally. In September 26th, we're going to the Homecoming Center and presenting a show called Full Tilt with School of Rock. Fee for services, we also do workshops. So during the holidays, we teach at the Iziko Museum. They have a program there. And then donations, amazing individuals, being a Section 18A, the donation is tax deductible. Corporates are also interested with that. And then grants, there's an institution that are made to support organizations like us. We just have to find them and they have to find us. And we also have created charities abroad in UK, USA, France, and Germany. So the foreigners who come to Cape Town, we invite them to visit the academy, and then they can donate in their country and have a tax donation in their country. So £1, €1, and $1 just go much further in South Africa.
What's the next chapter looking like? What's the dream?
We don't believe you should stop dreaming when you open your eyes. So that being said, obviously Laurence and I are getting on in the years now, and we going to make sure that Zip Zap continues long after we move on. So that is what we're working on, slowly handing over to the youngsters that grew up at Zip Zap are starting to take our places now, and we're very excited about that. So obviously legacy is one thing. We'd still like to build we have an academy in Salt River. We still got our goals are to build a multi-purpose performance center in the heart of Cape Town, which we have been working on, and we're going to be focusing our efforts on fundraising for that starting very soon, because like I said, the youngsters are actually starting to fill our positions at Zip Zap, and so we're going to try to focus on getting that as a personal goal done before we're too old. And then obviously the touring show it's a wonderful platform for not just for Zip Zap and for the youth, but to take the message to the world of South Africa and stuff. So we are now looking at creating a second touring show, which then means that we would have 2 shows touring the world and more opportunities for children, and of course a better source of income.
Well, guys, I want to thank you for joining us on The Odds in Our Favour today. I think what Zip Zap reminds us is that talent is everywhere, but sometimes opportunity isn't. The most powerful thing you can actually give a person is not a handout, but a chance to discover actually what they're capable of, and that chance to build that confidence, the discipline, the resilience, and to develop skills that will serve them long after that applause has faded. And for more than 30 years, Zip Zap has certainly been creating those opportunities, helping young people not only find their balance in the circus, but also their place in the world. And that's a legacy that obviously reaches far beyond the stage. If you would like to get involved and support, you can head over to the website, visit zip-zap.org.